How do you build a character in Pathbuilder? What's that all about? And can you build paths too? This is the Dominomicon, authored and hosted by me, Dominic. The Dominomicon is dedicated to all nerdy things, with my current obsession being the TTRPG Pathfinder 2nd edition. This video chapter is all about using Pathbuilder, and I'll be creating a simple martial character from concept to level 1 completion in Pathbuilder to show you the basics on how the software works. I'm not actually sponsored by Pathbuilder, but as it's a product my whole group uses, I highly recommend it and genuinely think it's fantastic for lots of different reasons. I still think that if you're completely new to character creation in PF2E, you should probably create a character just using pen and paper first so you understand the basics a bit better. And this video will assume that you know those basics. But even if not, it should be pretty easy to follow along. And as ever, if you find this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing. This video will be mostly unscripted and off the cuff, so apologies to those expecting my usual style, but I wanted to do this semi-real time to show how easy Pathbuilder can actually be. Okay, let's jump straight into character creation. Right, so first up, Paizo recommends creating a character concept first before you start to look at classes and ancestries, and we'll be following that mentality as I genuinely think it's probably the best way to make a character in PF2E. So the concept I'm going for is inspired by this image I found on the interwebs, a heavy armor wearing dwarf. Credit to the fantastic artist Diana from Reddit, who gave me permission to use this image, and I'll link to it in the description. The backstory I created for him is that he's an ex-mercenary that saw the light of a particular deity and decided to change his ways and help rather than hunt people. With him using a big hammer and wearing heavy armor, that makes me think he is definitely a sort of tanky character, so we'll stick with that idea as we move into Pathbuilder. Now, when you choose to use Pathbuilder, you have a choice. You can use the web one, which uses your browser, or you can get the mobile character app. Now, I would probably slightly recommend the web version over the mobile version, and bear in mind that if you purchase either of them, they are individual purchases, as it does say here. Obviously, for our purposes here, we're going to use the web version, but just keep that in mind that they are separate versions. So we'll click on a web character builder, and yes, accept, that's fine. And we're just going to use whatever default things we can choose is what we're going to choose. So of course, new character, and you get to choose here whether you want to include the old non-remastered rules as well as the third-party Battlezoo content, etc. And we're just going to leave everything default, click get started. And you have a little tutorial here, which obviously we're not going to need because I'm going to go over everything. So here we are. Here is the actual stat screen of Pathbuilder, and there is a lot of information on here which could be potentially overwhelming for new players. Never fear though, as I'm going to go through most of this. So by default, it's already selected a couple of things for us. We can just ignore that we're a human ex-barkeep fighter, ignore that stuff. We'll go through everything, starting with the actual plan here. This is your character planner. So this will have all of the selections that you need to make for your character as you level up, all the way from 1 to 20. So you got everything listed there for you. And then we actually have, starting from sort of top left to bottom right, we have our level selection here. If you increase your level, you will see that everything will scale up, of course, which is great stuff. And we're going to obviously stick with level 1 for now. You have your XP, you have your character name. You can click the rest button and, rest. It gives you a few options there, of course, up to whatever the GM has told you when you're resting. And there's the conditions as well. If I click on one of these conditions, you do have all the standard conditions. If we add frightened, for example, it gives you a description of how it works, but you can click on accept and it will give you the penalty to all your skills, abilities, etc. AC, everything's there, and as we increase it, they go down further, which is terrifying, which makes sense because it is frightened. We do not have access to custom buffs because we're using the free version, and you have to pay for the full version to get that. And yes, we have our size here, we have our speed, we have our base attributes again, though, because these things that are selected here, which will change in a second. Have AC, HP, whether you have a shield or not, saving throws, hero points, which you can increase and decrease, simple enough. You have your class DC, perception, and your initiative bonuses, etc. And all your skills, all the things you're trained and untrained. So U is untrained, T is trained, E is expert, M will be master, and L will be legendary, which of course we're not going to have right now at level 1. As the preset already chose fighter for us, we're expert in a couple of these things. Obviously that's going to change in a second. You have your weapons tab here, you have your defense tab. We will go over this properly in a second. Gear tab, this is where your gold is, all your currencies and stuff, and any extra gear that you have. Spells, pets, which we don't have pets on the free version, you have to buy the full version for pets. You have your details tab for any extra bits you need to put in. Feats, which gives you a list of all your feats and specifically tells you the things that you need to do to finish off your current character. And then a big list of actions. This list is huge, and this is why people say start at level 1 in PF2E, because even as level 1 we have all these things that we can do. And you can also filter them. Say if you have one action left and you want to look for a specific action or whatever, you can just filter things down nice and easily. So that's all these top tabs here, and I guess we're ready to start building our character. So we're going to do the ABCs of character creation, starting with Ancestry. Now we already know what our Ancestry is, we're going to go Dwarf, but still it's worth looking at all these different things. So this sort of grey square colour thing means that it's common. And in your uncommon tab, you'll see here that they're orange and rare are blue. If you go into all of them, you can see all of them next to each other. These are all your ancestries. Of course, if anything's uncommon or rare, you got to get GM permission. We already know we're going to go dwarf because of our character concept. So it gives you basic information here, as well as where this information comes from. PC1 is player call 1. And we get a basic description. These are traits. You can click on these for your shorthand information, which is very helpful indeed. Yeah, so we know we're going to go dwarf, so we're just going to click on dwarf. That's the A ancestry done. Now on to B. Now we wanted to go mercenary, but we have a giant list of backgrounds, and you can go to the regional ones, campaign ones, custom, which obviously I'm going to have, and then all, which literally gives you all of them, and you can see the rarities here again on the side. You can also filter. Filter is a fantastic tool in Pathbuilder. It really does help you along making your selections. So you can filter by feat. So if you wanted battle medicine from level 1, then you could just click on this and it'll give you a list there of all the things that have battle medicine. If you wanted to limit them by abilities, you can click on strength here and it would limit your selection to anything that gives you strength as one of your attributes that you can raise. And you can limit it by specific skills. So if you wanted acrobatics, for example, you click on that and these are all the backgrounds that come with acrobatics. But for our purposes, we're just looking for mercenary. So we're just going to scroll down and grab a mercenary. Where are we? That is L. We are M. And we've got to find a mercenary. There we go. Yada, yada, yada. We know that this comes from LOWG, I imagine is Lost Omens World Guide. It tells you all the things. You get your boost to strength, constitution, free ability boost, a little bit of background info as well. And you're trained in athletics and mercenary law skill, and you're getting the experience, professional skill feats. So we know we wanted that, so we're going to click on that because we are an ex-mercenary. I had sort of decided that we want our class to be a champion because I think that suits the character concept that we're going for. Again, you have all of them here. You have the core, the expanded, and your class archetypes, so anything like elementalist or wellspring magic or spell shot for gunslinger. Any of your different classes, the strange things are here. We want to be champion, so click on champion. We get all the info there like everything else, and you get your tags again, your rarity tags. So let's go ahead and go with champion. I'm going to slightly skip ahead to heritage rather than do these. I'll do these in a second. I think heritage kind of goes with ancestry, just to make sure our ABCs are fully done. So heritage, again, you have all your different rarities up here. I'm going to stick with common, keep things nice and simple. I think Oathkeeper probably suits our dwarf because he was a mercenary, so he would be pretty good at checking motives on people, whether they're going to run away from him or whether or not he actually needs to fight them. And attempts for people to lie against him. Again, he needs to negotiate pay and that sort of stuff, so that's a good thing to have. And even this, bonus to diplomacy checks, convince others that you speak the truth when you tell them the truth. You know, to say, yes, I did accomplish the goal. Give me my money. So I think Oathkeeper works really well for him, so we're going to click that. Then going up a little bit, we can go to the attributes. It does say ability, so apologies. It's going to say ability, but it means attribute, but you know what that means. So you can do the standard ability selection, which is 3 boosts and 1 floor, or you can click on this and have the alternative one, which just gives you 2 boosts. I'm going to click this one for the sake of simplicity, and we're going to go strength and constitution. I want to get strength as high as possible because in PF2E, you really want your primary attribute to be +4 at level 1. You don't have to have it at +4, but I highly recommend that you do. And so if we have a background because of the mercenary, if I try to change this to strength, it won't allow it, illegal background boost, because of course, you can't have the same two in the same one thing. So I'm going to change this one to constitution just so it looks neater when it's strength, constitution. I don't have OCD, I don't know what you're talking about. And then the class boost, we can have strength or dexterity. Of course, I'm going to go with strength, and you have your free boosts here. I want max strength, I want as high constitution as possible. Probably going to give him +1 on his charisma, makes sense if he was negotiating wages and stuff. And give him +1 dex as well. Maybe we'll give him a ranged weapon or something at some point. Yes, and if you want to override stuff, if your GM gives you permission to do this, you can customize it. Like if you take the optional floor, which gives you 2 floors and 1 other boost, you can do it this way. Obviously, we're not going to do that, so we're just going to stick with those attributes. Already, you'll see that it's updated some of our skills and some of our numbers here. So we're going to carry on going. Skill training. Again, it's pretty simple. You have your trained, expert, master, legendary. It tells you which attribute all these comes from. Strength for your athletics, of course. We're already trained in this because of the background we chose. Religion because we're a champion, of course. We have 2 to select. I think I'm going to go survival. I think survival makes a lot of sense. You'll be a mercenary, probably out in the wild. Sometimes need to forage for food or track people. That kind of makes sense. And I think diplomacy as well, because we have the +1, which is nice. But also if he was negotiating wages and stuff, he'd probably need some charisma to be able to do that. So we'll stick with those. Oh, the custom laws thing is here if you want extra laws. I have decided that he would be a champion of Torag, which is the sort of generic dwarf deity, if you will, which is all about crafting and, you know, being a dwarf and all that stuff. So the deity skill for them, for Torag, is crafting. So I'm going to select that right there. And we're going to start getting onto the actual feats now. Our first Ancestry feat. There's a big selection there. As ever, they have the rarities with the color codes, which is nice. I like Unburdened Iron. I think that's a fantastic feat, especially for someone who wants to play heavy armor, because it reduces the speed reduction for any armor you wear. Eventually, we do want to be getting heavy armor for our character, so it makes sense that he would have Unburdened Iron, because otherwise his speed would probably end up being 15, which is pretty grim. So yes, we'll stick with Unburdened Iron. Obviously, it's a big list, but that one's pretty simple. That one's a great one to take. And onto the class feats. I love Defensive Advance. I think they added this with the remaster, and it's absolutely fantastic. Basically, for 2 actions, you get to do 3 actions because you raise your shield and stride, which will be 2 actions in itself. But if you end your movement within melee reach of one enemy, you can give them a little whack, which I love. So we'll use Defensive Advance because raising shield is quite action heavy, action economy. You struggle with it a little bit, and it's always worth doing if you're tanking, especially because you can reduce a significant amount of damage. So defensive advance, yes please. As for our devotion spell, by the way, if you click these here, it does give you information on what all these things are. Devotion spell, I was going to go Shields of the Spirit because it's very good, very tanky, but I think I'm probably just going to go with Lay on Hands, just because being able to heal yourself from 1 action for a set amount of health is very useful and very good for tanking effectively. Keep yourself going, so you know that's great. And if you target an ally, they get +2 status bonus to AC. Shields of Spirit is fantastic, but I personally want Lay on Hands for simplicity and because I like to heal, so we'll stick with Lay on Hands. As for our cause, I was thinking either Justice or Liberation. I'm leaning towards Liberation. I don't want the unholy and holy ones because I want him to, if he's going to become sanctified, I want him to become sanctified eventually, maybe not straight away. So I'm thinking Liberation because maybe after he has been a mercenary, he's realized that, you know, the people that he's been getting money off, a little bit maybe tyrannical in some ways, or maybe just decided that seeing him take people's freedoms away from them, he decided, you know what, I don't like that. Respect choices that they make for their own lives at another point. I think that would make more sense for him to be all about liberation. Plus, it fits the idea I have in my head, and I do like Liberating Step. It's a great ability as well. Right, so we're going to pick Liberation. And I believe he's not going to be sanctified currently. Again, I may eventually make him sanctified, but right now he's neither holy nor unholy, so I'll stick with that. So that's the basics of the character creation bit here, but we need to start looking at these things over here. We're going to need weapons, we're going to need defense, we're going to need gear as well. So we do have the 15 gold that you start with, so let's start looking at weapons. This is a giant list as ever. There's a lot of weapons in PF2E. It has the magic ones as well, the specific magic weapons, which are good fun. You also can categorize them to make things simpler. So I'm going to stick with proficient because obviously that just helps filter stuff down. And speaking of filters, we have a lovely filter list here. He did have a hammer in that picture, So I want him to use a hammer, but I don't want it to be two-handed. So I'm gonna choose one hand here. So I know they're gonna be one-handed. We're gonna be proficient with this. I don't really care about how big the dice is because we're gonna be tanky more than anything. And it was a hammer, so in groups here, I can actually select hammer. And here's our list of weapons. I guess we want it to be common as well. We don't want to have to speak to the GM. Make things nice and simple. So our choices are Earthbreaker, and the traits are here, so you can click on stuff and it actually tells you what these things do. Two-handed is a good option. It's nice. Massive hammers, metal headshot. Yeah, that's pretty good. And it's versatile piercing as well, which is really cool. And we could have the light hammer, which we can throw. Agile might encourage us to hit more than once, which we probably shouldn't be doing. We don't want to be doing multiple attack penalty stuff because we want to raise our shield and be protecting others. And then we have the Warhammer. Shove is a very good trait to have. Very good at pushing enemies maybe away from our allies, especially when we get runes for the little bonuses. So I'm going to stick with the Warhammer for now. I think that makes the most sense. It's 1d8 as well, which is nice. You can buy or you can give. Of course, we're going to buy because we're going to follow the rules properly, and it will basically tell you that this will subtract from your currency. So click accept there. And here we have our weapon, and you can actually roll within Pathbuilder. You can do flat rolls by clicking down here, free rolls or whatever, just with random dice checks. And you can roll by clicking on this, and it even does the multiple attack penalty for you right here, so you barely even have to do any maths. So you can actually see, oh, that was a rubbish roll, and we tried multiple attack penalty. Rubbish roll again. We'll give him one last try. Oh, that is a terrible roll. So yeah, I don't trust robots personally. I always roll everything myself because I'm a crazy person. But still, you can see everything here. You can roll critical damage as well. It tells you all the numbers. Very useful. Very nice to have. And so that is weapons done. Let's move on to defense. And we're trained in light, medium, heavy, and unarmored. So I would like to get heavy armor, but it's rather expensive and kind of would leave us with next to nothing left. So we're going to stick with medium. Again, all your magic stuff's here. Everything's categorized, nice and simple. We're going to go with medium, and I think chainmail is cost effective. We have a dex of +1, so we'll get +5 from this overall because it's 4 + 1. It is noisy, but I mean, we're not going to be stealthing all that much. We're meant to be a tank, so we're going to stick with chainmail. Nice and cheap, gives good bonuses, and going to be some of the highest on what you can get right now. So let's go ahead and buy that. Now we also want a shield, so I'm going to press change on here, and you have a big list of shields here. I think the standard, the classic, is going to be a steel shield. It's pretty cost effective, decent hit points, decent hardness. Yeah, it's only 1 bulk, so we're just going to stick with that. I would like a tower shield maybe eventually, but they're very expensive, and again, we don't have the money for that. So steel shield for now, let's purchase that. And you'll see now that it's appeared up here, we can actually have the health stats for the shield, and we can raise it and actually get that +2, which is nice. If you click on that, you can see how it affects your AC here. Everything is sort of explained for you, which is very simple, very easy. With that in mind, you can actually look at HB itself. If you click on this, you can do damage. You drag this little bar here to show the damage that you have. You can do the same with your shield as well. Again, very helpful, very useful to have. I'm just going to restore both of these right now because obviously we're not actually damaged. And when I was talking about dice rolls, you can also do your dice rolls for stuff like this. It gives you a list of all the actions within that specific skill, and you can click on the dice roll thing and actually have it do an athletics check for you. Ooh, we actually rolled high for a change, that's nice. Yes, onto the gear tab. We have but 6 gold remaining, so we're going to have to be careful here. So add gear, I pretty much always recommend people grab the Adventurers pack because it's relatively cheap, comes with a backpack, bedroll, rope, which is always one of those things that's randomly helpful, rations, and water skin. So we're going to tick that on there, but I really think we need a repair kit as well, because if that shield gets damaged, which it absolutely will get damaged, yeah, we're going to struggle. So I'm going to tick on repair kit as well, so we should be able to afford both of those. There we go. And it's automatically added the backpack as a container, which you can click on here, whether you have a bag of holding. I guess they're called spacious sack or something they're called these days. Can't remember the remastered name. Or a backpack. You can add them this way, but it's automatically done it with the Adventurers pack. As ever, you want to put all the things that you're not going to be using in combat into your backpack whenever possible, because you don't want it to be taking up extra bulk for no reason. You have a bulk here, you have your unencumbered, and you're actually, well, it's telling you you're unencumbered right now, but your encumbered number's there, and the max is there. So everything's written out for you, nice and simple. simple. On to spells, of which we have one spell. Of course, Lay on Hands, which we went over earlier. And I can even roll the little d6 here for when I'm going, oh, look at that, when I'm actually damaging enemies. So that's kind of nice. Your focus points are here. And of course, you tick this on and off when you've used it. And your DC is here. It does explain where all this stuff comes from. Trained, you know, charisma +1, efficiency +3. So yeah, nice and easy. The big list of rituals here. Obviously, we don't have any rituals, but I would love to get some rituals because rituals are awesome. Like plant growth. This is just amazing. If you were, I know this is a complete tangent, I don't care. If you were a druid, you would definitely do this, right? You'd definitely go to like a village and just be like, you guys struggling for food? Boom, have plant growth. I'd definitely do that sort of thing, but anyway, we do not have any pets and we're not allowed pets in the free version. Yeah, so we're just gonna move on to details, and this obviously is our tab for all the extra little bits of stuff that we may need. I'm going to fill this out, give me 1 second. So I have filled this out, and whenever you write notes, you always click save notes because sometimes it doesn't when you go between tabs. I've just left the languages because it does tell you up here the languages that you have, and even tells you bonus languages. So we have common and we have dwarven, and all the list of languages is here, as well as custom ones you can put in yourself. So I'm gonna press finished on that one. On to the feats page. Again, this is a list of all our feats, as I said earlier, and we don't have anything else to select right now, so it's not gonna tell us that. So everything is here. You can print stuff off as well if you want to do that. Same with actions. Yeah, so that is basically a character created relatively easily. It's definitely daunting at first when you first look at the screen and see all these numbers. It can be kind of terrifying, but once you kind of get used to it, you can do this relatively quickly. And being able to scale your characters up and down just very easily. You can even look at all the things that you would eventually get if you have spells and stuff like that. Like we have 2 focus points now, you can actually see when I click them on and off how that works. And they get heroes defines, etc. Oh, let's randomly roll this because it's fun. I like 4 to 5, nice. So yeah, you would ultimately see all the stuff that you would get, which is very good, and it does make creating characters kind of a breeze and a little bit addictive as well, probably in a bad way, because you just end up, I may as well go into level 5, I might as well go into level 10, I want this ability, I might as well go to level 12, etc. But yes, this is the basics of Pathbuilder then. Very easy to use, it's completely free of course, and I would recommend upgrading it. This is not an ad for it, but ultimately I would recommend paying for it because it's just like a one-off cost and it gets updated like almost at the same time when the new books and rules and stuff come out. So it is pretty much fantastic. My entire group uses it and we absolutely love it. So yes, it's a simple basic guide to using Pathbuilder. The only thing I hadn't done was name him, which I have done now, Asken, because I think that's a cool dwarf name, and back to the book. Hopefully that has given you a pretty simple guide on how Pathbuilder works. I might do another video chapter on Pathbuilder going into a more complex class like a spellcaster, and I could even go further and start looking at third-party packs for Pathbuilder itself. If you'd like me to do so, please let me know in the comments. And I'd also like to ask those who use character builders out there, what's your favorite and why? Obviously Pathbuilder is my favorite, with the main reasons being the speed that it gets updated, the low cost, and the extremely fast load times. I'd like to give a massive shout out and thanks to Redrazors for making and updating Pathbuilder. I'll link to his Patreon in the description. And thanks to Diana for a great inspirational artwork. And that's going to be that for this video chapter. This is Dominic of the Dominomicon wishing you a fond farewell, and until next time, goodbye. And yeah, you can't build paths in Pathbuilder because it's a character builder and it's pretty obvious. I don't know why you'd ask such a stupid question. Or why would you even